If you are the leader, press star now. Be placed into conference. To mute your line, press star 6. To mute, press pound 6. To unmute your line, press star 6 or pound 6.
Thank you for joining us. I know it looks like we have about 20 students online. Bet you a few more will jump in as we get going here. So what we mostly for this hour is to try to answer as many questions that you guys have and get to those as quickly as possible. So I haven't prepared any slides. Those of you who are on this call that are first years, I have access to the PowerPoint presentation I gave and Lelania and I gave at the bidding workshop weeks ago. So if we need to reference those. So with me in the room here is Lelania Avila, who's our Associate Director, and Vicky Luang, who's our Program Manager. So they can answer some questions as well. So just before we get to the questions, a couple of things I want to note. And the way we're going to handle this is everyone should be muted. And just to prevent background noise. And we're going to do it kind of in a chat mode. So you can type in your questions. They're going to come through to our screen. I'm going to read them out loud and address them out loud so that in case other people have similar questions, we can tell them the questions that way. So start off. So while I'm kind of going over a couple of these housekeeping items, if you guys can start typing in your questions now, we can start addressing them as we go as well. Is everything ready, Vicki? Okay. Hopefully everyone can hear me. If you have been saying you can't hear me. Okay, so a couple things. First, I just want to thank everyone for their patience. I know there's been a lot of questions. I know a lot of them are coming into our main EWMBA office email. I know Lelania, myself, Jocelyn, and Vicki are getting them, and John actually are getting them on our personal emails as well. We are doing our best to try to get to them as quickly as possible, but there are a lot, so sometimes we can't quite get to them as quickly as we want to. So just be patient with us, and we'll try to get through them, and hopefully today we can answer a lot of those questions too. A couple things that have come up that we're aware of. The first thing just to really stress is that to remind you all that you have a week to do this bidding, so it doesn't close until next Monday. So if you get on there and see a problem, don't pay too bad because nothing will be written in stone until bidding closes on Monday. So there's chances if something was wrong, if you had declared one or the other, or something is wrong when you get into OLR, we can fix it, and you will still have time, and you will not lose out on the bidding. We are aware of a couple issues that have come up. One of them is in relation to the Sunday 1-unit classes. If you're trying to bid more than one of those, it's right now it's not allowing you because they conflict with their timing. So we're trying to resolve that, even though they don't actually conflict with their timing. We need to change that in the system. There are also a few of you who, at least you can hear me. A few of you who've contacted us regarding seeing both evening and weekend classes, even though you're declared an evening or a weekend student. So we're also trying to resolve that as well, and we'll make sure that's fair to everyone. With that, I think I want to start with some questions. One thing I want to address before I get to that is I'm still continuing to get questions about the entrepreneurship class that has been removed from the schedule for fall 2014. I think some people missed my point in the email that went out last Friday afternoon, so I will reiterate it here. Basically, we're continuing to work with the chair of the entrepreneurship group, Toby Stewart, to find an instructor for that class. But at this time, we didn't have the confidence that class was going to be offered, and we had to remove it from the schedule so that you guys didn't waste your bidding points on that. It's not a for sure thing at this point that I know we can offer that, but we're still trying to offer it, and we understand all the challenges associated with it being a gateway class to the entrepreneurial classes. So at this point, I don't want any of you guys to be wasting your bidding points on it, but please note that we're still working on that. And have news of that being able to be added at a later time, we'll let you know over the summer, and it'll be handled during the add drop process. That's that one. And also just one thing related to that, it really is entirely out of our control how this happens. So there's a lot process that happens in the back end with the curricular planning, and something fell through in that process, completely unrelated to our office involvement in it. And then Open Innovation was also canceled for other reasons on the Saturday schedule. So with that, let's go with some questions, and we'll try to get to as many as we can. So I'm going to read them and say them out loud at the same time. So this is the first one. So the ones I just addressed about people being able to see both evening and weekend schedules, even though they're declared one or the other. That was from Praveen. Thank you for your question. Those are one things we are looking into. So from our understanding, it's set up correctly, but we need to double check that. So Praveen, if you don't mind, I would actually try to bid on a class that's not in your cohort that you're declared in and see what happens, but it's something that we're working on resolving. And as soon as we do resolve it, we'll make sure we message everyone that that's been okay. Basically, you shouldn't be able to bid or see classes that are outside of the cohort or the evening or weekend that you're declared. You're only allowed to see that after round one closes if you still have bidding points. Second question. So that's a question. This is from Vikas Matwani about round two bidding. You will only be participating in round two bidding if you still have bid points left over, and bid points left over can happen for two reasons. Either you save some, which we don't recommend, or unsuccessful and some get credited back to you or refunded back to you. But imagine about whether you can see all the courses or not. I don't know if you can see all the courses or not, because we can't see it from the student's point of view, but you will definitely only be able to bid on classes that have openings at that point. Is that understanding, Lelania?
Yeah.
That's how round two works. So it would only be the classes that still have spots open. Okay, thank you for the question. This one's from Nikhil. So no, this question is about bid points being refunded if you drop a class. You actually cannot drop a class into a drop period that starts in the fall, and at that point, you're not using bid points anymore to add or drop classes. So make sure you use your bid points wisely in round one and round two. They're only refunded into round two from round one if you're unsuccessful. No way to drop a class once the round bids are finalized next Monday morning. Of course, you can make changes to your bids this week. Round one is still open. Another one from Nikhil. Good questions. So, the question about total number of bids, total number of units you can bid for the fall. Yes, the maximum number of units that you can bid on in the round one and round two process, or basically coming out of spring, is 7 units. Doesn't mean you need to stop at 7 units for your final enrollment in the fall. You can enroll up to 9 units maximum, but the way you add those later is during the add drop process. So it would be classes that still have availability, and you add yourself to the add list or wait list for those classes that get processed during the add drop period. And we will be giving you guys a lot more information about the add drop process when we get closer to it. There's just too much information right now that we wanted to focus on this process. Jump in whenever you have anything else to add.
You're good.
Okay. This one be Sri emailed me this question. This is about pricing being offered in the fall. No. Sorry, the short answer right now is there's no chance at this point that pricing will be added to the fall schedule. As you know, it's on the summer schedule, and it'll be in the schedule for next spring as well. Curricular planning process starts in December and goes until February, and planned for the entire fall, spring, and summer of next year. And a lot that goes into that. It's see availability, mixtures of classes, looking at things that are offered in the fall versus the spring, things that are offered in the evenings versus the weekends. So at this point, we are not able to add class-like pricing in the fall. But our VPs of Academic Affairs, Ben Bradbury and Milan Lee, who I want to thank tremendously for all efforts these last couple of weeks. They helped put on the peer-to-peer elective minglers, which I think were really successful, and also working hard to through the CHITE award process right now. So hopefully you are all participating in that and nominating the professors that really stood out. But those are the people to really get a lot of the feedback to. We're going to be working with them as we look at and plan continuing in the future. And we get kind of input from them as well. Are there questions at this point? Okay, I need some more questions. I can't believe those are all of them. Anything coming through on the main email that gets asked a lot? This is from Vikas Madwani again. Good question. He wants to know if we have access to the spring 2015 schedule right now. No, it's not published. And it's something that we haven't done in the past. But that is actually something that Ben Bradbury and Milan already talked to me about. It's something that they got the sense that students really want to see. Let me look into that further. But the quick and easy way to look at that is, well, there's a couple of risks around that. Even do the planning now for next spring, and that we have a sense of what's going to be offered, there's so much that can change. So if we do communicate to you guys and share that with you guys, I would want the students to understand that it's not set in stone, that it's just our best kind of look at spring at this point, and that there could be some things that change. So we can definitely explore chat with you guys, but we want everyone to understand that things can change, and therefore, don't completely do all your bidding based on just how the spring schedule is looking. But one other way you can kind of get some information that is looking on the course scheduler website. There's a link on our student page for that, and you can go into past semesters, look at what's been offered in the past. So a handful of classes will change from year to year in the semesters. We offer a similar suite of electives as students do plan going forward, and then we try to weave in some new ones throughout each semester. Okay. So that was about the spring 2015. So let me look into that further and discuss with our team and John about being able to share that with you. Thanks for your response. Okay, they're getting faster now. I'm kind of lost track of where we are here. So I did. Donnie, you want to know about bidding strategies. Really tough call. I know a lot of people do want to get some advice about bidding strategies. I know Lelania and John and I, through the peer elective minglers and the event on our day, had a discussion with those students. And I'm really hesitant because I don't know. I think there's lots of different strategies to implement, and they really vary depending on what you're looking for. The one thing I do think you guys should consider is that round one is really the round to go after the classes you have to have and want to have. And then hopefully have kind of some backup classes or your second classes. And then you also have to think about those classes that from talking to students that are usually over enrolled each year when they get offered. Those are usually driven by very popular teachers rather than the actual topic of the class. And those type of classes, and you're going into your second year, you may not want to waste your bid points on those because most likely they will be enrolled by mostly third years who've been waiting for their chance with the larger bid points to enroll in those.
I would just add if you're interested and you're unsure which of those classes are the ones that are very heavily enrolled, I would recommend going to campus groups and the Facebook pages, maybe the Facebook all-year pages, to kind of post your questions to students. I'm really interested in this class. Can you guys give some insight of whether or not this is a heavily enrolled class, and your classmates will really be the ones to kind of help you out with that.
Yeah, there's a lot of discussion on Facebook. That's a good one. Lots of ways to get resources about about these classes. We do not, Praveen has asked us about the syllabus. We do not have syllabuses yet from these professors, and we don't keep syllabuses. All we have is the course descriptions, but those are pretty detailed. They give you a pretty good sense of the class. But beyond the course description, you would have to email the professors directly. Do you know of anything else to add about the syllabuses?
No, I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, the course description is really what you want to do.
Yeah, and that's what they build the syllabus off of. The syllabus might just have a little bit more detail on how each week or each class the topics are going to be covered. This one?
I think it's the same question as Johnny. Thereabouts.
Helpful information about how much the students should bid on a certain class. We do not have that historical data, and we do that purposely because so much changes that from semester to semester, year to year, depending on professors that are teaching those classes, the day those classes are being taught, the other classes that are being offered that day, that will really dictate how the bidding will work for these individual classes. So you really should think about what's best for you and use your bid points to go after the classes that you're interested in taking, how they relate to kind of what you want out of the program. I know it's a hard thing to think about, and I think a lot of first years struggle with how to kind of choose that strategy, but it's kind of a learning process as you go through it. So the more you can talk to, those students going into third year, the better. But it seems to all work out eventually in the end. So, Nikhil has another one. Another about bidding strategy. He wants to know about corporate finance, Haas at work, and power and politics. So, finance is a class that we offer pretty often. So I would imagine that's a class that probably a lot of the third years have already taken, or that there's also offered in both an evening elective and a Saturday elective. So the class she has a good chance of getting into. Whether there'll be the open enrollment after all the bidding, I don't know, but it might not be a class you need maximum bid for. Haas at work only has about 20 spots with the way the nature of that class works. It also is a pretty demanding class because it's a consulting-based class, so not all students have the time or the bandwidth to take that class. And there's a lot of third years who are graduating or going to third year that have acted as GSIs in the past for that class. So I know in particular Jeff has done that, and he's be willing to answer questions about that. He's a third year and has been a GSI for multiple semesters for the Haas at work class, so he might have some insights about that. Politics is an online class, and so that's going to be an interesting class because it's open to both the evening and weekends. And it's if it fits in schedule, being able to be in the synchronisms on Tuesday nights. Past enrollment. What do you know about where that class is capped at? Like 30 or 40 students?
Which
power and politics?
I feel like it's much higher
than
that.
60,
I think that's the 60. I can check too.
Yeah. Okay. So he was asking, so this is another question we keep getting around how it would work if we do add entrepreneurship back in the fall. We need to work out the details of that and how that would work, but we will definitely communicate that to everyone. And it will be based on seniority, like Bing is, and like the summer enrollment waitlist processes as well. So we'll communicate that to you guys when we know more and if that's a possibility. But it would be somewhat similar to how classes can be added in a normal process, just that starts with newly enrolled in it. It's a process of creating a seniority within your class and then randomizing within your class on who gets the spots. This is about sitting in on classes that are going on right now. The problem with sitting on classes, I would ask the professor that might be teaching the class right now in spring 2014 if you want to sit in on it to see how it is, because there may not be any seats available in the classroom. So depending on the class in the room, I would ask the professor in advance to see if it's okay. So people are reaching out to see if they can still change whether they're being undeclared or declared, one or the other. The deadline was Saturday, and there has been some changes to the schedule. So we'd have to really take that on a case-by-case basis, but the deadline was Saturday at 6 p.m. That we communicated to the students. So the group that they're referring to, that Elaine was referring to, is this is Facebook groups. There's one, each class has its own Facebook group, and there's an EWMBA all year Facebook group. So most students join their class Facebook group when they're admitted to the program through the summer before going into orientation. So to find it, you can just find a fellow classmate and look at their groups and then ask to join. That's the best way to get on it. So we have the PowerPoint available for the bidding workshop. All of the stuff that we covered in the bidding workshops on the PowerPoint are on our student website page, not in the PowerPoint format, but in all the different links that are on there. So the best resource for any particular information. So I think that was you that asked that question. If there's something in particular in those slides that you were curious about, I'm happy to answer that here. But all the information that was in those slides are also in links on our student webpage.
Can I add about the Facebook
Yes.
groups? So for the Facebook group, if you do a search for EWMBA all years, that should bring up on the list. It's a closed group, so you need to request access to it. We'll include these links later on.
Yeah, we could put them on the student webpage too, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's administered because we get sometimes prospective students wanting to get on those Facebooks, and we want to keep those for just you guys. So for homework about the company list, this is from Linda. No, it's not been finalized. You can always reach out to Dave Rockland or Clark Kellogg, who teaches those classes, to see if they have an idea of the classes, the companies that will be part. But I have not communicated to us what the companies that they're going to be working on for the fall. This is a good question from Nikhil about rating reviews on past courses. Really, the reviews on the professors, and those are the TIE scores. I'm trying to think of where, in my first email that I sent out when we announced the fall schedule, which was on April 8th, I believe, I did put a link to that it's called TIES, T-I-E-S. But it's all on our main Haas web page. It is password protected. So you get on it. Is there a link on there? Okay.
Under fall 14.
I'm going to share with you guys real quickly. We'll see if we can do this. Student web page and show you where that is. Right here? Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, hopefully you can all see this. This already checked out this page. This should be almost every single email we get answered on this page. A lot of it is a student handbook link here. Starting a lot of the fall bidding, this is all of your important links. So about faculty evaluations, those TIE scores, this is that link. And it'll take you to a page where you have to search. You can do it by semester, and then you have to kind of scroll down. It's not the best page to look at EWMBA courses, and you can see past semesters on here by course number. So, for example, this one I'm highlighting right now is the corporate finance course. Chang, who teaches it, and this is her weekend version of it. These are the evaluations you guys have been filling out, and they can give you a little bit of sense about the class and the professor teaching those. Okay. Back to the webinar is all working. Great. Great question, guys. Hopefully you find this helpful. Which one here? this is a good question from Vikas again about bidding on Sunday 1-unit classes. Those are open to both evening and weekend classes since they're outside of your evening and Saturday schedule. So yes, you'd be able to bid on them regardless of what you're declared, evening, weekend, or undeclared. As I mentioned earlier, there is a little glitch in the system right now because they're all in conflict of each other because they're just showing as a Sunday. So we need to resolve that. It really is, there's no way to set individual conflicts for all the different Sundays that those are listed. So it's really on the onus of the student to double check what Sundays those are offered on, so you waste bid points on classes that are happening on the same Sundays and have to drop them later. So those should be listed on the fall schedule, and which are on the back page or the second page of that, and the course descriptions for each of those classes. So please really pay attention to those Sundays. Some classes are held on the same Sundays. So Nitin, Nayland, the question you had about trying to bid for both active communicating and financial models, those are both the 1-unit classes, and that's the glitch they're having trouble with. So we're working on that. I think we'll probably have that resolved today. So check later tonight or tomorrow, and they'll try to send something out saying that that's been resolved. We got that. How do dual-listed courses accommodate full-time EW students? Okay, so that's a good question. So OR shows just the capacity for the evening weekend students. So full-time. So how we start off with that is all dual-listed classes start off with a capacity of 50% full-time and 50% evening weekend, and the number of seats, total number of seats, are dependent on the class size that class has been scheduled for. So, for example, if there is a room that holds 60 students and it's a dual-listed class, 30 will start off full-time and 30 will start off evening weekend. The advantage for us is that full-time bidding stops before ours. So any leftover spots haven't been filled, and that end up coming into ours at this point. So you might see additional spots added. They've been added to the OLR. So what you can see in OLR in terms of capacity, those are the number of EW spots in those dual-listed classes that are available to EW students to bid on. Okay. Let's see. So even though you said this privately, for dual-listed classes, the class size that would be about the same equal number of full-time classes. There's a couple exceptions to the rule where it might be more weekend students. I think was it social sector solutions that we had some extra spots in? Yes. Yeah. Haas at work, actually. Haas ended up filling with as many full-time students, so they were able to revert some of the classes back to some of the spots. I can't remember which one.
Yeah, I think it was the other one.
Not all of them. Most of the dual-listed will have about the same equal balance. But offhand, I can't remember. There were a couple special ones that don't. So this is a question about insights about other courses if third years have already taken them. That's a really hard call because everyone takes courses in different orders depending on their strategy for bidding, how they want to how they personally mapped out those, if there's anything that they're going for in terms of recruiting goals. So that's something that is easy to say across the board. Again, I really encourage you guys to try to get that kind of information from the fellow students so we can provide on as the process part of things. Okay, we have a question about seeing both schedules. I like you guys. Thanks. I'm hoping this is really helpful for you. Okay, well, I think we have answered all the questions that have come up so far. We're just double checking. Here's one that's come up. Okay, Good. Johnny, glad you asked this one about PFPS. Hope you guys all noticed, I think in the bidding workshops, I don't know about Lolania's one, but the two that I did for the blue cohort, I was mistaken about the problem-finding, problem-solving process, the PFPS class. First, it is a mandatory class that you need to take. It's a one-unit class that you need to take sometime during your second or third year. Most students take it in their second year because it is a prerequisite for taking any of our experiential learning courses like IBD, HAAS at Work, Social Sector Solutions, Clean Tech Market. So most do take it in that second year. We include it as part of the bidding because it is a required class, so it is a separate enrollment process that will happen after round 2 bidding closes. So we'll be messaging that to you the next week, and that process will start on May 6th. So if you haven't already signed up for a class or enrolled in the summer version of that problem-finding, problem-solving class, there's 3 versions allowed or offered in the fall. One is a Thursday night class, I believe, Thursday night, and one-unit class that only lasts for the first 5 weeks of the semester. You can see it's September 25th, not the first 5 weeks. It only lasts for 5 weeks, so it's September 25th for October 23rd. We also have a one-week block class that's really convenient for a lot of people that happen the week before electives start, Monday through Friday evening from 6 to 9 p.m., so August 18th through the 22nd, and the Sunday version of the class as well. That starts September 21st and goes 5 weeks through October 18th. So hopefully one of those 3 you would work in your schedule. And we're going to give you more information on how the enrollment process works for that. This is a question about how many people have bid for a particular class. Can you see that right now? No, I think that doesn't happen. All the bidding, it's kind of silent bidding, and then it doesn't get processed, so you can't see what other people are bidding. It's not like a live auction where you outbid other students. It closes at once. This is a question about OLR capacity on dual courses. So should be no more updates happening with capacity on the classes. Everything listed in OLR is current. All dual listed and all evening and weekend classes only right now. Actually, classes have room changes that happen over the summer, but that gets resolved in add drop. So bidding purposes, what the capacity is in OLR for now is what is our final at this point. And telecom, the corporate strategy, telecom, and media class that Reza Moudami offers, he does normally offer that in the fall. He offers both an evening and a Saturday section. Again, you can look at past schedules through the course description website. I didn't bring in to see if it was what was happening in the spring with that class or not. Okay, anything else you can think of?
Can't. I would say that if you are interested in the class, make sure to bid on it and not necessarily wait till add drop, because anybody who is on the wait list at the end of bidding are on a wait list priority higher than people who added it later. So if you're interested in a class, now is the time.
Okay. How does that go with bid refunding points?
Well, you didn't get the class, so you're refunded the points. But my understanding is that there's still kind of a wait list that's kind of compiled for people who are trying to still get into the class.
Okay. Another question. The add process, is it based on first come, first serve? Not entirely, but there's like phases of it, right?
Yeah, so there's, my understanding is that is a wait list that's kind of generated at the end of the ad drop period for the people who wanted to in the class and weren't able to. And then there's kind of the ad drop, or maybe that's the, sorry, maybe it's the drop wait list, and there's rounds for that.
Yes.
Yeah, so, sorry.
I know, we're getting confused with all the different processes, and some of us are new to this too and trying to understand it. It is on a first come, first served basis, like number 1 to number 50, but there are I think there's the ad drop wait list is processed throughout time. I believe it's at the end of each of those weeks, but I can't remember right now. So I have more information about how the ad drop process works after all the bidding closes.
But we process ad drop, so it's first ranked by seniority, so third years have seniority over second years, and then within the third year group it's randomized, and within the second year group it's randomized. So it's not a first come, first served basis.
About the Haas Investment Fund class, that class is actually a year-long class that goes from spring to fall. So you would have had to be enrolled in it in the spring to take the fall version of the class. If you're interested in that feature, you need to enroll in it next spring. And it was only one evening weekend student who took it this spring, so that wasn't, even though it's a class offered and open and it's dual listed, would have had to already be taking that class this semester. It's one of the intro learning classes too. About really paying attention to the dates of the 2-unit classes, especially those on Saturday. So the professor does give some of the preference on when those 2-unit courses happen, start and stop. So it was really up to the professor to choose which 10 weeks they want to hold the class. Most of them, for the 2-unit classes, most of them are the first 2 weeks of the semester, but occasionally a professor requests for them to be held a different set of 10 weeks. Do you have anything on that, Lelaine, since I know you were communicating? This is one in particular, the M&A class that Chris Basile, I can't remember his last name, is doing, and the managerial accounting class.
Yeah, it's really up to the professor to choose those 2 weeks, and so they do it in between the 10 weeks, and so it's really based on their schedule. So I would definitely take a look at those course descriptions so that you know which 10 weeks that you will be attending.
Yeah, see the challenge that faces for commuter students that want to take both those classes. It's really, we try to give some guidance to the professors, but it's up to them sometimes to choose, if it's a 15-week, 3-unit class, to choose which 10 weeks they're offering that class. And this question about how impacted certain classes are, in particular the strategy class taught by Jonathan Leonard. That's strategy incentives and something else, I can't remember the full name of the class, and the marketing of new products, and also financial information analysis on Saturday. Again, it varies from year to year and semester to semester for those classes, so there's no way for me to predict how impacted those classes are going to be at this point. Know that based on how the schedule worked out, there's only one 3-unit class offered in Saturday morning, and that's causing more people to maybe want to take that class, so they're trying to take 6 units on a Saturday only. But for those of you that can only take classes on Saturday, you do have to take those other online classes as well. Leadership competencies on Monday night. That's going to be online on Monday nights, and then a couple of Sundays where you need to attend class, and the Power and Politics is fully online. Keeps coming up about the negotiation class, the evening version being 2 units and the weekend version being 3 units. That is not a typo. The class actually be run by a 2-unit or 3-unit format, and it's up to the professor. The same happens in the full-time program, and that's just the way the professor wants to do it. Some prefer a 3-unit 6-week version of it. Some people prefer a 10-week version of it. So it's up to decide which one works better for you.
Content-wise, it could be different.
They're similar, but obviously one it has, goes a little bit longer and maybe goes a little deeper into some of the topics. Obviously a little bit higher workload based on the 3 units. So that's the negotiation class in this, for spring 2015. No, there is not planned to offer her class spring 2015 at this point. If possible, the next time we'd probably be able to offer a version of her class would be summer 2015. But again, she's in high demand and she has multiple programs that she teaches in, so we do the best to get her when we can. Also, it's based on sometimes the professors' availability and their schedule. I think there was one of the first times she's been able to teach in the evening weekend program. That's the very extended list for that. We are in the works of trying to offer a one-day intensive workshop with Holly Schroff, and this might be offered over the summer. So we are looking into that, and hopefully that'll be open to a large number of students to just try to help with that excess demand for her class. So that we don't have the details, so I don't want that to impact your bidding at this point. In the weekend cohort or declared weekend, you should not be able to bid on an evening class in round 1. I've seen some students have told us that they can see both. What we need to understand is if they can actually bid or successfully bid on both. We are trying to work out, that's one or two glitches that we're trying to work out at this point. Hope we're still done with all our questions here. Well, if anyone has some more questions. Okay. So this is from one of the students that can see both, and he does say, he or she says that they can bid on both. So we will work on that. You shouldn't be allowed to. So we'll make sure we check that out and have that figured out before. I mean, you can too. Okay. We have 2 very important things to figure out in the bidding process. So we'll make sure those get fixed. Think you know about that. Questions, you guys? How many there's 40 people on? We'll stay for a few more minutes if anyone still has more questions, but don't feel free to leave if you guys need to get back to work as well. So work, Nikhil, you don't have the classes. You can email or call the Hosset Work office, or email Dave Rockland or Clark Kellogg, who are the teachers for that class, to share with you what the companies look like for those consulting projects. This is a good question that I've said already before, but it doesn't hurt to repeat. You are allowed to continue to make bid changes during this whole week. You can go there and fiddle with them, change them, delete a whole bid up until bidding closing on Monday, so April 28th. Nothing is finalized in round 1 until bidding closes on Monday. It closes at 9 a.m. on Monday, right, Lelaine? Yeah.
Yes, 9 a.m.
We're just looking sure we haven't forgot any of these questions that might have come up earlier. We're done with our questions, but we're staying on in case any more happen. Justin, when do we normally find out what classes are offered for HOSET work? When is that usually messaged?
So that, I know I had a conversation with the HOSET work team, and they said they should be, they're finalizing them right now. Should be have a response in about a week or two. I know it has to do, they're working with clients, so unfortunately it didn't fall within the ad drop time frame for both full-time and evening weekend.
And we understand your interest in knowing the companies, but what's really neat about that class is not so much the type of companies you work with, but the what you learn in terms of how the projects work and the toolkit you kind of gain from that. So that should be kind of what you're focused on more for taking that class. I understand that it's nice to know and have interest in these companies, but I think you'll find the same quality or level out of it regardless of which company that you're assigned to. You don't have any say in which company you're assigned to, even if you know the list.
Correct, yeah.
Same as with IBD. Oh, yes. Yeah. Questions. Where the students are telling us that they're able to bid on both evening and weekends, even though they're expected, so we're going to resolve that. And the 1-unit classes also have a consult, which we know to resolve that. We can get that done today, too, because they're all Sundays. So. Any other classes come in? All right. Looks like they're starting off. We're down to 29 students. Thank you guys for your patience in getting your questions answered. I know a lot of people have reached out to our office in multiple ways, and believe me, I've seen our whole team on email into the night trying to respond to everyone. So we are trying to get back to everyone, but not always as quickly as you want. I'm going to sign off on this in the next minute or two if we have no more questions. So for another minute or two, if anyone has any last-minute questions. I really encourage you guys to stop by the office before class on the evenings, or who's going to be Saturday?
Loki will be
I don't remember which
down at Canada.
Yeah. Answer your questions there, too. All right, thank you, everyone. Really appreciate you being on this call. I hope we got your questions clarified, and good luck in the bidding process. I do promise you it'll all work out, and you will have classes to take in the fall. I think you just posted something real quickly, or okay. So I post a couple links for you in case you need them, and I'm going to survive at this point. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Disconnected. The conference will be terminated in 5 minutes.